YouTube channel Nos Confunden. Few truly look beyond the horizon, not the one we see but the one we are taught not to see. Surrounding what we now call Antarctica lies not just an ocean, but a colossal ring of motion, fury, and silence. A circular tempest designed not by chance, but by intention. Nos Confunden. Like in the Truman Show, where the system unleashes an artificial storm to stop escape, here too, the sea behaves like a programmed sentinel, not built with stone, but with waves, wind, and fear. A living wall meant to keep us from reaching the real edge of our existence. The boundary of the first dome. When we observe weather maps of the known lands, one image repeats itself again and again. While most oceans display waves within normal ranges, there is a perfectly visible, perfectly defined band surrounding the southernmost regions of the world, a band of extreme waves, merciless winds, and conditions that make safe passage impossible. This belt of storms is not a climatic coincidence. Within the logic of the dome worlds, it is a naturalized defense system, an artificial creation embedded into the official narrative to protect access to the true borders of the inhabited world. Experts call it the Roaring 40s, Furious 50s, and Screaming 60s. Nos Confunden. The names sound like something out of an adventure novel, but they describe specific latitudinal bands, between 40 degrees and 60 degrees south, where winds blow with a ferocity found nowhere else on Earth. The official explanation is that, since there are no large land masses to interrupt them, winds travel freely from west to east, accelerating endlessly. Yet what is never brought to the table is why this phenomenon not only remains constant, but intensifies the closer one gets to Antarctica, where the violence of sea and sky reaches levels that make any form of conventional exploration utterly impossible. Nos Confunden. This is not just wind, this is not merely moving water, this is a barrier, a design, a climatic fence built with millimetric precision to create fear, danger, disorientation, and retreat. Everything indicates that this maritime belt is not there due to natural causes, but because of programming and control. A programming that is part of the operating system of the first dome, where everything has been arranged to ensure that the human being never gets too close to the ice walls. Because once you get close, you begin to see. And if you see, you understand. And if you understand, you break free. The climate manipulation systems surrounding the southern circle are not limited to wind. The Antarctic circumpolar current, the most powerful on the planet, flows uninterrupted around Antarctica, generating a kind of liquid vortex that acts like a conveyor belt of forced rotation. The waves produced in this region are unlike anything else. They can easily reach 10 or 12 meters in height. There is no rest. No season ever calms them. This sea is always active, always violent, as if it were obeying a command rather than following a natural pattern. Nos Confunden. The resulting image is that of a moat, a rotating, relentless moat, like the one surrounding a castle. Except here, the castle is not at the center, but outside. Beyond the water wall, beyond the perpetual storm, lies an uncharted continent, a denied geography, other lands once hinted at by ancient maps and erased by modern international treaties. Humanity has been convinced there is nothing beyond, but that conviction was not born from discovery. It was born from indoctrination. It was cultivated, taught, and repeated for centuries by the true architects of the narrative. the custodians. These colonizers of the known lands, who after the reset of 1728 reorganized territory, knowledge, and systems of thought, not only erased history and redesigned science. They also installed a climatic defense system around the edge, because they understood that the greatest threat to their dominion was not war, not weapons, not rebellion, but the journey, the human attempt to go beyond. That deep, almost spiritual instinct to break out of confinement and discover what truly exists beyond the dome. And to block that instinct, prohibitions are not enough. You need fear. You need a hostile nature. You need a barrier so powerful it doesn't even appear artificial. Nos confunden. The false satellites that supposedly show us Earth, known continents, from space never directly focus on this region. The cameras never rotate enough. The missions never pass through there. The images are always distorted, edited, or censored. Digital maps lose resolution precisely as one approaches that frozen white strip. Access to certain zones is restricted even to researchers. You need authorization from multiple nations just to establish a basic station. No one can fly over specific coordinates without justification approved by international treaties. Everything is carefully protected, as if something is hidden there that no modern mind should ever discover. Nos confunden. And so, generation after generation, human beings have accepted that the far south is merely a frozen desert. No one asks why the most intense winds on Earth are precisely there. No one wonders why the oceans are in constant unrest. No one sees that every ocean is navigable. Except there. Because there, navigation is impossible. There, compasses break. There, the weather doesn't obey cycles. It follows a pattern. A defense pattern. In this logic, the sea is no longer a geographical accident. It becomes technology. A programmed element designed to guard a limit. An environmental defense system that serves the same purpose as physical walls, but camouflaged as something natural. The invisible projector dome casts the false sky. The raging sea casts the fear. One covers the ceiling, the other the borders. And yet, some try, some get close. And when they do, they discover things that cannot be explained. Disappearances, electronic interference, glaciers with impossible shapes, non-human structures emerging from the ice, blue lights in the sky, invisible barriers that deflect instruments. What lies beyond is not just forbidden geography, it is the beginning of another reality, the threshold of truth. Nos confunden. That is why the system is arranged like a stage, a grand theater of wind, cold, water, and projection. Everything has been set up to keep humanity inside, looking upward at a fictional cosmos, and toward the south in fear. But that fear is the chain, and the waves, the wall. A wall not made of stone, but of energy, of programming, of purpose. Because if a human being ever manages to cross that circle of storms, they will not only break a physical barrier, they will also shatter the deepest illusion of all, that we live in a complete world. When they see what lies beyond, they will know it was never true. And in seeing, they will awaken. And then perhaps for the first time since the first reset, the human soul will remember it came here to cross, not to remain. YouTube channel Nos Confunden.